Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have a look at the latest from the live radar, run through the UKV, have a look at the precipitation and the temperature over the next 5 days, as it is going to be turning quite a bit colder in towards the weekend and starts next week, as we do see an Arctic air mass return back from the north, and it will bring much colder air for all areas for pretty much all of Sunday, Monday and potentially into Tuesday as well. Now, the biggest risk with this will be overnight frosts, where it will widely drop below freezing overnight, and the general colder feel with pretty cold wind chill, making it feel like low single digits. The thermometer temperatures will probably be around 6, 7, 8 degrees, so nothing too exceptionally cold, but for the end of March, it is pretty chilly. Now, it's most likely going to be a drier northerly wind as high pressure does topple in quite quickly, but as the cold air arrives, there could be a few showers around, and they could be wintry of nature, especially in the north over higher ground. So we could see some falling snow once again for some areas before we do see that southwesterly wind return from around Tuesday, Wednesday time. So we'll have a look at that, and then we'll go and have a look at the long range, look at the GFS, GM, ECMWF, and the ensembles, as it does continue to look likely we will see colder air masses coming in at times, as it does look like we'll continue to have a pretty strong jet stream, but it does look likely on the latest runs that we could see a bit more snaking of that jet stream, a bit more amplification, which could allow both drier conditions for a time, milder air masses, but equally cooler and unsettled conditions to dominate. We'll just have to see where we do end up with that, but no signs at this stage of any huge high pressure systems. There have been signals at times in extended range for especially the ensemble members, but nothing concrete as of yet. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure you like and subscribe, and remember to follow me on Twitter as well, the link's in the description. So if we do start on the live radar, you can see it's another reasonably unsettled day. Now, I record this around 11 AM, so by the time you're watching this, probably we're starting to see this heavy rain drifting into the south, but at the moment we've just got our array of heavy showers. Now, we did see some really heavy rain move through last night. You might have heard it on the roof or some windows. We did see some real quite big squall lines move through parts of England and Wales over last night into the early hours of this morning. Saw some hail mixed in with that, and could have been some lightning as well, as it did look really quite heavy, and we're continuing to see these sort of really heavy showers. Now, they are not widespread, they are quite localised, but where they do occur, it could be some really quite heavy rain. So at the moment, we've got quite a few of these big heavy showers in the northwest, and a few in around the London area, but elsewhere it's reasonably dry with a few showers across Wales, and then some more widespread smaller showers pushing in for parts of the Republic of Ireland. But as I said, it's this big bulky area of precipitation that will be moving into the southeast over the course of this afternoon, into the evening and overnight, and it will be giving some really quite heavy rain in places. Uncertain how far it does come inland, because it is really going sort of on a southwest to northeast track along southeast England through East Anglia, so uncertain how far inland the precipitation patterns do get, but some of these southeastern points to the south and east of London could be seeing a lot of rain tonight as this area does move in. Of course, we've got to watch these other showers as well, as they could drop quite a bit of rain in a short period of time as they do progress in, and of course we'll have to keep an eye on those. They will continue over the next couple of days and for the foreseeable future, as we do keep this pretty unsettled pattern before and after the colder spell coming in this weekend. Now, if you look at the 2 metre temperatures, as of around 11 AM, you can see it's another pretty mild day. Again, the milder air is fueling these heavier showers. That's why they're quite heavy, a lot heavier than we've seen so far this year. We've had generally cooler air. So these milder southwesterly winds fueling these showers, but also giving more pleasant conditions out there in terms of temperatures, widely around the mid-teens, 14, 15 degrees, which would feel reasonably warm if we did see some sustained sunshine and not a lot of showers and cloud around. So it's not too bad out there, but of course we have a lot of desired sunshine amounts to make this feel sort of worthwhile in terms of these temperatures. These will continue, as I said, into the weekend before sort of dip in the north through Saturday, widely getting cooler on Sunday before all areas into Monday will be struggling to get much above the mid-single digits, as we do see that cold air pushing in, so perhaps as much as a 10-degree temperature drop in some places into Monday. So if you now have a look at the UKV and see what that is showing over the course of the next 5 days or so, now you can see those heavy showers continue to push in through the rest of today, perhaps fizzling out in places, but pepping up perhaps in the far west today. You can see across the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland continuing to be pretty strong and bulky. But we've got to keep an eye on the southeast. You can see that big area of heavy rain moving in overnight. Again, uncertain how far inland it comes, but will drop a lot of rain in places. A little bit of squally features could be developing there with those darker, brighter colours, indicating some really quite heavy rain around sort of 7, 8 p.m. Elsewhere, continue to see these heavy showers moving in. Not all areas will see them, but where they do occur again, we see some very heavy rain temporarily, but of course quite a strong southwesterly breeze, so it should move through quite quickly. As we head into Friday, it does look like it will turn drier temporarily in the south through the morning, but into the afternoon those heavy showers break out once again, very hit and miss, quite a little bit smaller and less organised, but perhaps slightly slower moving, and you can see some bright colours once again. Reds in there indicating really quite heavy rain, torrential rain, could be hail and lightning within some of these showers. You can see this spiral out over the course of Northern Ireland, and this is the centre of the low. And as this progresses eastwards, that's where we bring in the northerly wind. Now, as we head through Saturday, you can slowly see that low clears the east, where we see this main shower activity. It's clearing eastwards, and that's when we see the northerly winds start to pull in. You can see a drier air mass starting to come in from the north, but just before that we have time for another little sliding low with some more very heavy rain across the far south through early hours of Sunday, so luckily falling mostly overnight for clearing into the morning. And then you can see snow showers breaking out across Scotland, perhaps northern England, maybe into parts of Northern Ireland as well. And as it progresses through the initial sort of cold front, we could see some showers developing and even some snow to parts of the Midlands, maybe even a few flakes to southern England as that does dissipate away. So cold air arriving for all through Sunday afternoon into the evening, and then Monday really dominating cold conditions, quite a strong wind chill out there, and you can see wintry showers down the east coast, but again nothing too severe as high pressure does start to move back in. Now beyond that, into late hours of Monday to Tuesday, you can see cloud built on the southwest, and this is shoving the cold air away. So frost into Tuesday, but probably by Tuesday afternoon into the evening, we're starting to move that cold air away. But there could be some transient snow, especially in the north with this. We'll have to see what happens when that comes into the 5-day time frame. But you can see the severity of the cold air if we do run it back to Friday evening. Look at that upper air temperatures around freezing, so around average, maybe slightly below average. Watch those blues move in from the north, about -5, -6 by Saturday in the north. But by Sunday evening, look at that widely -5 to -10 for all areas. And then into Monday, look at that bitterly cold conditions at the upper air levels. Again, not getting towards the surface because it is the end of March. Again, these sort of air masses in December, January time would produce ice days where at the surface it hardly gets above freezing. But being end of March, we won't be seeing that. And of course, you can see it does eventually start to push away into the early hours of Tuesday. Now, if you put in the max temperatures over the course of the next few days, again, you can see about 13 to 15 degrees as the top temperatures today, so nothing too crazy, but not particularly cool either. Into Friday, overnight temperatures mid-single digits, and then into the afternoon, you can see again those temperatures rising to perhaps 10 to 14 degrees. Once again, into Saturday, nothing too cool overnight, perhaps mid-single digits, maybe a slight frost in Scotland, and then into the afternoon, 10 to 13 degrees, but you can see a distinct temperature contrast. Cooler in the north, mid-single digits, low teens in the south, and that cold air will be moving through for all. So, but for most waking up on Sunday, it's going to feel a lot colder, really only properly cold in the north where it drops towards freezing, but by the afternoon temperatures won't rise all too much, perhaps 6 to 8 degrees, maybe 9 or 10 in the far south, as the cold air does slowly reach there. But through Sunday evening, all areas will be seeing quite harsh frost. Look at that, overnight temperatures dropping widely towards freezing. Perhaps the far south escaping at 2 or 3 degrees, but widely from the Midlands northwards will be -1 to -5. Into Monday afternoon, temperatures really struggling to 6 to 8 degrees quite widely. You could even see maybe a 9 or 10 in the south, far south and the far southwest, but most areas around that sort of 6 to 8 degrees. Feeling really quite cold out there. Again, feel like temperature would be a good few degrees colder than that, so not particularly pleasant. It's going to feel like it's winter once again, but it won't last all too long. By sort of Tuesday evening into Wednesday should be a bit milder, and you can see to the early hours of Tuesday, look at that, freezing cold for most areas. For central and eastern areas, look at that, widely -1, sort of -5 once again. So another harsh overnight frost. So we now have a look at the GFS and see what that is showing over the course of the next few weeks. Again, you can see the low pressure over the top of us at the moment, giving us our unsettled conditions at the moment. But as it clears to our east, we open the flood doors to northerly winds, very cold air moving in. The high pressure isn't particularly strong up towards Iceland and Greenland, which is why it's only a transient colder air mass, only really lasting 48 to 72 hours. Beyond that, we do see the southwesterly winds push back in, and some very unsettled conditions in there, some quite severe little low pressure systems potentially there, so quite stormy conditions perhaps, and keeping us really quite unsettled. Beyond that, we do perhaps see cooler air masses move in for another time with high pressure out into the North Atlantic. But if this did shift a few hundred miles further eastwards, that high pressure sat more over the top of us with the warmer upper air temperatures underneath it, then we could see slightly more spring-like conditions. You can see those the 5 degree isophone there. If that was more over the top of us, under the centre of the high, it could be quite warm. Instead, we're flirting with this cold air that's just to our east, and you could see more little colder spells there, perhaps even more wintry showers and more frosts into the early part of April. So yes, another cold spell coming this weekend to the start of next week, but it might not be the last of the winter / early spring period. We will have to see what happens, but if we continue to see this amplification of the jet stream, still good chance we do see more of these cold air masses coming in for a time. Now, if you go into the GM, see what that is showing over the course of the next 10 days. Again, low pressure over the top of us, eventually pulling that quite cold northerly wind. For southwesterly winds do prevail once again. And more of these little low pressure systems could be quite stormy there as they do develop. Again, locally, very unsettled. We'll have to see what happens with that. But continually very unsettled the way to day 10. Yes, more amplification, but the amplification here is even further westwards, and this could just develop a sort of a cut-off low over the top of us, keeping us very unsettled and probably relatively cool as well. You can see cold air feeding into the northern and western edge of the low, southern and eastern edge. We're getting warmer Atlantic air, and this is just going to continually fuel this low pressure system, keeping it really quite horrible. So we'll have to see what happens with this, but again, no crazy signal of seeing anything majorly warm or dry. Now, if you look at the ECMWF, see what happens with that. Again, low pressure moving out to our east, northerly winds pushing in for eventually the low pressure dominates once again and goes very unsettled towards day 10. Again, more amplification of the jet stream, and this actually starts to put in quite a cool, or if not cold, northeasterly wind. Now, luckily, it's early April, so we haven't got that much cold air up towards Scandinavia left, and any that does get to us will get warmed quite rapidly by the sunshine. But if we did see this in winter, this would be bitterly cold. The wind direction coming all the way from the northeast, high pressure out towards Iceland and Greenland, low pressure associated with this. This would be a really quite cold and very snowy sort of pattern if this fell just a few months ago. But of course, being early April, it's probably going to just provide miserable conditions. It's going to be cold, it's going to be rainy, and it's not going to be particularly nice at all. So you can see the 3 runs today. perhaps some hope of higher pressure moving in, but equally, like the GEM and the ECMWF, if the high pressure is further westwards, it could just trap low pressure over the top of us, keeping us cool and continually unsettled. Not looking good for any warm or dry weather for the next few weeks. Now we can see that well reflected on the ensemble members. You can see the colder dip towards the weekend and starts next week for a good sort of 48 to 72 hours in London. Very cold for a time, but of course drier as well, as we got high pressure influence. Beyond that, we do see slightly milder conditions, but as we head into early April, you see the ensemble members, they're back towards the average, if not slightly below average. For some reason, the 1981-2010 mean does disappear around the 3rd of April. Don't know why that is happening, but if we just sort of extrapolate it out, we would generally be average to below average in the longer term. Some very colder air masses in there, down to -5 to -10 into early April. Really is bitterly cold, a good almost 10 degrees below average now. But the big thing is, it is staying very unsettled. Again, if we have a look at the 2-metre temperatures from this, again, we see the cold spell early next week, maybe 3 days of temperatures not getting much above 6 to 8 degrees, and then perhaps rising up towards 15 degrees for the last couple of days of March, but again, associated with more showers and spells of precipitation. For into early April, we could dip once again, probably only sort of to 10 to 12 degrees, but that's really not particularly good for early April. And of course, with rain around, with not a lot of sunshine and cloud, it probably feel a few degrees cooler than that. Through the weekend into start of next week, those dew points perhaps dipping as low as -6 or -7 before it does rise well above freezing once again. But into the longer term, you can see it drifting back towards sort of 3 or 4 degrees. Again, not bitterly cold, but a chilly dew point, emphasising that it's not going to be particularly warm air at all over the top of us. And even though it doesn't sound too bad, but it is early April now, perhaps even getting towards the middle part of April, where we've seen mid to high 20s before. So seeing something 10 or 15 degrees colder than that or more, it's really, really not particularly great. Dragging out this winter quite considerably. So we'll have to see. Again, we can all attribute it to the southern stratospheric warming, this amplification, more amplification in the jet stream, more blocking patterns, cold air getting pushed towards us at times like it's going to be this weekend, like it was a couple of weeks ago where we saw that real cold spell towards the start of March. We can all attribute it to the southern stratospheric warming, and this is why when we see southern stratospheric warmings occur, especially sort of in February time, it can really drag out cold conditions. Not necessarily wintry conditions, definitely we saw that in early March, but recently we have seen colder weather, but nothing especially cold, just pretty annoying, rainy, chilly conditions. That looks likely to continue. Now, if you finish by just looking at the ECMWF ensembles, pretty similar. Cold spell this weekend, slightly above average for the last few days of March, and then into early April, cooler and perhaps colder once again, and continuing to be quite unsettled with all those big precipitation spikes appearing. Again, a lot of it will be convection based, so will be a lot of on and off and very unpredictable, especially if you see those lows just stick over the top of us. A lot of heavy showers will be with this, so we will have to see what happens, but for the time being, continuing to not look likely we'll see anything particularly warm or dry for the foreseeable future. There will be milder, warmer days. There will be periods of a few hours where the sun gets out, temperature's 15 degrees, and it does feel spring-like, but we're not going to see anything sustained at all. We're not going to be seeing any strung together days of warm, dry conditions. It's looking likely most days there will be rain around, maybe apart from the colder spell later this week. But beyond that, yeah, just a lot of rain and a lot of chilly conditions. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Make sure you stay safe out there. Going to be some more ice risks and frost risks into the weekend and starts next week. So do stay safe, and I'll see you again for another video soon.